Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Spiritual Grind. We hope you enjoy it, and don't forget to follow, hit the little bell for your notifications when the podcast is posted, and follow, and share with your friends. We hope you enjoy it. Leave a comment if there's any topics that you want us to speak about.
Like, follow, share.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jenny. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the show. We had a little bit of a crazy
Good morning.
We just did our countdown to go live, and right after I started, she's like, Dr. Jenny's like, yeah, I'm ready. And then crash, bang, 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 bang.
I knocked over some stuff.
Anyway, so kind of lightened the mood a little bit. We got a good laugh right before we started. I'm sorry, editor. So, good morning. Welcome back to the show.
Good morning.
We are going through I am going through some things, and one of the things that came into my realm of thinking is we as humans have a tendency to sit and wait on things. We set our intentions. We hope people will do the best. And the reality is, we expect the best from people. And the reality is they just have a tendency sometimes not to do it. Do it the way we expect them to do it. And so we sit back on our laurels waiting for something to happen when it just doesn't happen.
Okay.
And
so what's the topic?
Why do we sit on
Sitting
our laurels?
on laurel?
Yeah.
Whoever that is.
Yeah, poor Laurel. Sitting on our butt and not doing anything. Why do we do that? It can be anything. Being adventurous, being a expectation. We're here for experiences. We're here to experience things, and that's part of the reason why we do sit back and not do anything, instead of building our reality in the way we want to.
Yeah. And
like for example, I am currently doing some stuff in our apartment, and I would really hope that it would have went differently, because I had an expectation placed and it didn't. And so I was like, you know what? Why am I sitting back waiting? Just do it myself. And that's what I'm doing. But I was expecting things to go a different way than it really did. And what I have learned is it just don't happen a lot. It's a lot. We expect people to act a certain way. We expect our friends, family, employees, employers, everybody in our reality to act a certain way based on what we would do. And then they don't. And then we sit back and just wait. And all it does is delay the situation to either be resolved, have fun, whatever it is. Why do we do that, Dr. Jenny?
Well,
Not the topic you were expecting, I can tell.
no, it's
a good one.
I'm trying to decide what direction to take you.
Oh, it's bifurcation. I heard one of our people the other day use that word, and I was like, oh, somebody's been talking to Dr. Jenny.
Well, So what you said has many entanglements. It is entangled in a lot of different things. So let's break it down.
Break it down.
Master.
What?
So expectation is a big contender.
It's a buzz killer, man.
It can be, but you have to have some level of expectation. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah.
So there's two levels of definition for that word.
Uh-huh.
One of them will keep you in divine flow, and one of them will limit your flow.
Okay.
So I guess let's begin there.
Okay, so let me add something in real quick.
Sure.
Because I realize when I put expectations on people, or on things or on situations, that when I do that, I'm doing it based off one of three things.
Okay.
One is either my history, my former situations or or things
Template you pull from.
B is what I do, my beliefs. What would I do? My beliefs in that situation, or because I always like to do the next best thing and leave things better than I found them. And the third thing is I do it based off what I think that person's beliefs are, or that thing's beliefs are.
Okay.
Are you okay over there?
Yeah, I just have a little sniffle.
You have a sniffy sniff?
Yeah.
Snarf, snarf, snarf.
No, it happens whenever I'm cold.
Oh, it does? You're cold?
I'm a little chilled.
You're a little cold today.
Snarf, snarf. I haven't heard that in forever.
Thundercats. Oh. Sorry. We're telling our age.
So, expectation. Let's tiptoe into that for just a second. So, if you have an expectation that if you do a thing, that there is going to be some sort of outcome.
Okay.
And you leave it at that, not insisting on what the outcome must be in order for it to be a positive experience or a good thing or a success, any of those positive words you want to use, then that sort of expectation is what keeps you in the higher vibrational state of being.
Okay.
When you have an expectation, but then you take it past the period and make a comma that says, I have an expectation, comma, and it must look like da, 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 then that's what trips you up.
So, because, I develop these things based off because generally speaking, I'll come up with a dream or a vision of what I think something should look like. And then I'll set my expectations based off that.
Yeah.
And it's very limiting.
And that, well, it's beneficial. So there's nothing wrong with that process, that technique.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you are absolutely 100% insistent that it must look like that limits you.
Okay.
Not leaving yourself open to allowing it to look differently than that.
Okay.
Is what kind of creates the blockage or the limitation, because you're giving your higher self or the universe an idea of what you would like it to look like. And if it must look like that, and they're wanting to create it in a more extravagant, bigger, better, more divine way, you're not letting that bigger picture, because you're not really ready to or are not able to conceptualize an even better or bigger or more intricately detailed vision to occur right now, just because of conceptually where you're at, then you're limiting the miraculous way that it could come in even bigger and better.
That's what
I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's what I meant by it.
So not being completely insistent that, okay, this is not happening the way that I decided it must happen in my head, then something must be wrong and it's going awry. And so abort mission and do nothing is what a lot of times will trip people up.
Okay.
So expectation can be a good thing. It is a beneficial component to the whole mechanism of creating a concept.
Okay.
When you have something, okay, so when you've experienced contrast and you say, okay, you know what? I experienced this person, place, event, whatever, and it was great and wonderful, or it wasn't so great and wonderful. Now I know better what additional details I want to subtract or add. You're communicating with the universe on what you would like the next experience to look like, a little more like that. So you're kind of you're whittling down the parts of it that you didn't care for, the parts of it that you would like to, and the only way to be able to get to that place at each level is to have the experience, the good part of it and the bad part of it.
Okay.
And if you, and so that concept goes out to your higher self, and your higher self immediately embraces that concept, holds the vibrational frequency of not only that concept that you've put forth at your level of existence. Maybe say, I identify this game as kind of a school. Maybe you're in middle school. Your higher self is way past doctorate level. Your higher self knows exactly what your pre-human expectations and design was.
Okay.
It knows everything that you've experienced formally. It knows everything that you came here to experience. It knows exactly what you need on all levels at any time. So it takes that concept and it plugs in all those different components of added features that you didn't necessarily add in your level of awakened state or conceptuality.
Okay.
But if you are staunchly attached to the insistence that it must look like the way you visioned it, or the way you daydreamed it, or the way you have an expectation that it must go this way, otherwise the sky is falling and my whole world is falling apart, then you won't allow yourself to align with the vibrational frequency of that experience that has been designed for you by the higher self.
Okay.
You'll align with parts and pieces of it, which then will bring about some experience that is different than the previous one that you had. And it might be a little bit better and a little bit more pleasurable, but it may also bring about some additional contrast that you didn't necessarily care for, which then allows you to come to a place of more choices that you can add. And it will also allow you to release beliefs, patterns, programs, habits that are causing you to perceive the experience in not the best way, which then lightens your load, lightens your vibrational frequency, allowing you to rise even higher in your frequency so that you can align with this experience on the highest plane of existence in the vibrational reality.
So there is some truth to the metaphorically speaking terms that get put out there, as in expect the unexpected. And what was the other one that slipped my mind? But when these phrases go out, or these things that we get taught, there is some actually spiritual basis to some of those. Like expect 100%. The unexpected is to keep yourself from limiting your expectations and your intentions based off an expectation that is limited. Like I had a vision of how I wanted something to go. I set my expectations on it and completely didn't go that way when it could have went differently. And then trying to control it and manipulate it in a human manner, is to get to that goal is also limiting.
Yeah.
And we as humans are taught to do that.
And that's all based on what you're perceiving the situation as through your own personal beliefs, patterns, and programs.
Correct.
That are set in place that cause you to look through a certain type of lens when you look at your reality.
Right. And when we as humans do this, and this applies in a lot of our life, it applies in a lot of it. We expect our bank to give a better interest rate. We expect our doctors, our lawyers, our employers, our friends, our family. We have expectations we put out in all directions. And when we sit back and wait for those, we're just affecting our own reality in a different way based off what we're expecting them to do. And then we humanly go through and try to manipulate it. And when there is some good to that, there is some good to, go and because you create your own reality.
Well, there's all good.
Right.
It's all good.
Yeah.
And that's the part I would like everyone to work towards is, like, for example, expect the unexpected. That metaphor has become almost negative.
Yeah, I agree.
wait for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
Expect the unexpected. Plan for the unexpected as if it's a bad, horrible, terrible thing.
Yeah,
But
plan for the worst and hope for the best.
reality, it doesn't have to hold that kind of energy. Expect the unexpected could mean open yourself up and let it be even more profound than you can even dream about.
Right. You know what happened when I went to the store a minute ago? What brought this up was the lady I talk to all the time at the Wawa I go to.
Yeah.
The Wawa is a convenience store here in Florida. And I went down there and I said, have a great day. And she said, I intend it to be the best day ever. As I was leaving, I was like, because she always like has something negative to say. She'll say something like, yeah, I got to work till noon, or I got, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She'll always has something negative. And today she was like, no, I intended this to be the best day ever. I was like, girl, I'm rubbing off on you. Because I told her one day, I was like, one day if you quit being negative, it'll quit everything around you to quit being negative. And that's where we as humans go wrong is, we plan for the worst and hope for the best when we should be accepting the worst and intending the best. And we should be going through our daily lives in a manner of realizing things happen that we have to accept and we have to not be emotionally attached to. Like I had the other day, the lady, one of the people here said, it was actually one of the employees was like, do you think they'll ever change this? I don't even remember exactly what the subject was. And I was like, probably not. I said, so when you get up in the morning every day, say, man, one day this is going to be this way, and just move on. But don't hang on to it, because we hear it all the time. How do y'all not get so worked up? How do y'all not get worked up over this situation there? And it's because reality is, if we do get our emotions involved into it, and then we start trying to humanly manipulate it, it's like you say, the trash takes out itself. And all we have to do is just intend that to happen, for the bad things to go out, for the bad things to get released, and quit expecting the bad.
Yeah. I mean, even better than that is if you could get to a place where your thought process looks something like this: nothing is happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is happening for you. Then that eliminates good and bad.
Right.
If you can get to a place where this thing that is not pleasant is for my benefit of expansion and growth, so that I can decide from there, did I like that? Did I not? If I did, I'll do more of it. If I didn't, then I'm going to research why I didn't. Check in with my beliefs, definitions, patterns, programs, see if that's ready to be released. If it is, do the tasks involved in letting it go.
Yeah.
And then begin again.
Right. Because most of the time when we humanly try to manipulate the expectations we have set,
yeah,
it is not ever the result that we want.
No. And it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It feels tumultuous. It feels awful, daunting. It just feels like crap if you check in with the emotional guidance system. When you're humanly trying to manipulate a situation, person, event to go in a different direction, that is not your job.
Right. I
Your
agree.
job is to just experience it and decide, did I like that? If so, give me some more. Did I not like that? If so, find out why, release it, and align with the next best feeling thing.
I agree.
Otherwise, you end up exhausted, tired. Time feels like it's going by so slow. It feels like things are not happening as fast as you want them to, or it feels like things are happening too fast, out of your control. It just is experienced through a pair of glasses that are just uncomfortable as all get out.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Those are the big indicators. Again, it goes back to, how does it feel?
Yeah.
If it feels yucky, whatever word describes yucky for you, those lower vibrational frequencies, then that's a big indicator that either you're trying to force a situation that is not meant to be, or you're viewing it through a set of belief systems and definitions that are no longer beneficial and ready to be looked at and ready to grow and evolve.
And that's what I mean by sitting on our laurels, sitting on our butts and not doing anything, is not actually figuring out why we don't like something. And we also spend a whole lot of time as humans trying to figure out what everybody else is doing to us instead of why is this happening for us? And, or why is this happening to me? Why is this going on? And it's all based off fear and expectations of the fear is that the expectation is not going the way we wanted it to go. And so that creates that belief system, which makes us lazy. Fear is
It doesn't create the belief system. What it's doing is showing you a belief system that's already in existence and in place that's ready to be looked at.
And I guess what I meant to say is it activates that belief system.
Well, it validates it.
Validates it. And that's actually a good way of putting it. But the thing about it, when we get into that template of the fear, then because that expectation is not going in the direction that we want it to go, or whatever, in anything, we have a tendency to either because fear is very limiting. Yeah. Fear is a very limiting belief. Well, we'll sit back and we'll actually delay because we're not stopping to look at it.
All right.
And we'll delay what we expected to happen in the first place that we're irritated about that it's delayed, that we're going to turn around and do it anyway. And we're going to delay it even more because we're feared, because of the fear of why is it being delayed, instead of just doing it, instead of just looking at it and figuring out why it's happening. And if it's supposed to happen, then let it be.
Yeah, because sometimes doing nothing is what you're supposed to be doing.
I agree.
But because we've been brought up in a busy society construct and, there's always emails to look at and phones to answer and people to answer. And like we forget that sometimes just sitting and being is very healing.
Right. No, I agree.
And giving self permission.
Do you remember that time?
Because how many times in our life, in our human life, if you just are sitting doing nothing, have people said you're being lazy or unproductive or procrastinating.
Why aren't you doing anything?
And sometimes you're just supposed to be.
Yeah. I mean, you remember that time in our lives when we were both working on just being? Because we were so caught up. It was right after we left Texas.
Yeah.
We were so caught up in the busy world of careers and business and everything else. When you stop for a minute, you're human out of just repetitive experience.
Doesn't know what to do. And it feels uncomfortable.
It does. It makes you're what do they call it? Stir crazy.
Right.
You go stir crazy. You're looking for things to do, and it's like when you just get confused.
Right.
And instead of just being, like we used to stop and say, somebody would ask us what we were doing, and we would, our response was, we're just being today.
Yeah.
We're just being today.
Right. Because you're essentially, when you get to that point, you have to create new habits because you've got an underlying unconscious habitual pattern of got to be busy doing something because I've been scolded for sitting around doing nothing.
Right. Because
other people in our life are wrapped up in the constantly got to be doing something, or I'm not being productive in life, have an expectation towards you, even way back into childhood, of you should be up doing stuff, running around like a wild, crazy
Go outside
person.
And play. Quit sitting in the house watching TV.
And so then you carry that into your journey of human existence, and you run around constantly in a whirlwind of got to be doing something. And if you stop and give yourself permission to just be, then I know for me what happened is there was a lot of guilt and self-judgment that came up around being lazy, non-productive. I could hear my parental guardians in my head from childhood saying, like you said, go outside and play, or is your homework done? Did you do your chores? Is your room clean? Going down this list of things.
Yeah. And, go feed the dogs.
Right. Of just constantly trying to have you run around ragged.
So they could sit and do nothing. Right. That's exactly what it was when I was a kid. He was sitting in their chairs. Go feed the dogs. Go take out the trash. Go, and anyway, so I also want to make sure and clarify that it is okay if you are just that person to stay busy as long as you're doing it for the right reasons. Don't do it because you're afraid somebody's going to call you lazy or unproductive or whatever, and just remove that term lazy and turn it into be. I'm just going to be today, because every now and then people just need a day,
and sometimes there are people in the world whose complete mission and spiritual agenda is to just come and be and hold a certain vibrational frequency place.
Yep.
And they don't have any other mission. They can be and do whatever it is they want to be and do. And if that's your mission, then sometimes it can feel like you're lost.
Yeah.
Like I have no purpose, because you're living in a society and have been brought up in a society where in order to be successful or be a good person, you got to be busy doing something. Got to be doing something.
I'm kind of that person. I've never been the one to just sit around. But I don't do it because I feel like somebody's going to judge me. I do it because I just like to stay busy. I like to keep my mind busy. I like to keep my hands busy. And that's what I enjoy doing. I enjoy doing it. Every now and then, though, I will stop and just be. Yeah. I mean, just last weekend, we just stopped and we just stayed in the bed all day, pretty much.
Yeah.
And no judgment. We ordered pizza and we just watched movies. Was that 2 weeks ago? But it can be okay. Then that's where I was going with that conversation, was make sure people identify it the correct way. If you're up staying busy and having to do things because you feel like that somebody's going to judge you, you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah, it'd be a good time to have a look at that, because it feels yucky.
Right. Because I heard a lady the other day say too, by the way, that she's going to get a second job because she's expected to get a second job. It's not that it was one of our employees.
Blech.
And I was like, what? And anyway, I won't touch on that too much, but going back to it. And now if we are doing something because we have a fear that we're going to be judged, we're staying busy all the time. We're not just stopping to be us for a minute. And we have that fear that we're going to be judged or people are going to look at us funny and we're up staying busy because of that, then it's the wrong reason. But if it is in your nature to be that busy, active person,
because it's enjoyable.
You're doing the next fun thing.
Right.
Then it is perfectly okay to do that.
Of course.
And it is perfectly okay to do a million things.
Yeah.
They call it, what do they call it now? ADD. And there's all this diagnosis of all these people are being called attention deficit disorder or whatever it is. And when really, could they just be staying busy? Who knows? What'd you snug your nose up for?
Titles and stuff are just so limiting.
I know, the OCD.
I would love for people.
So who cares? You like your stuff in a certain way. Who cares? Why accept that label?
Even labels and titles, they hold a frequency and they serve a purpose for that person
for a time being until they start questioning it.
Their permission slips sometimes to allow them to experience things on a broader scale or to experience things on a less broad scale so that they can get a really, really true, authentic experience on whatever they're wanting to experience on a spiritual level. Yeah.
And sometimes those labels will open doors for them to stop and look at things.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
And, I'm going to bring up the OCD because I've heard this for some reason the last couple of weeks. This OCD thing has been a topic of conversation around work.
Okay.
with thoughts of people. Oh, I'm OCD, so I'm doing this. Oh, or my OCD makes me do this. And I'm like thinking to myself, really? Is it really OCD or is it just you? Why are you accepting that label? Because now you don't like it, or you're using it as a crutch, as just to justify to yourself that you like your stuff in a certain way.
Yeah. Anytime somebody comes to me with those kinds of sentences, it's obviously, for me, it's definite indicators of things that I will present to them as possible things to look at and explore.
Yeah.
Because anytime you're blaming your behaviors, your actions on something else and not truly being accountable for them, then that is a form of cop-out of not wanting to look at things.
Agreed.
If you truly are ready for expansion and growth and awakening, you have to, and I hate to say that, but you do. You have to become accountable for the fact that you create your own reality, and you got to be willing to get down and dirty with the excuses that you're using to justify your existence if you truly want advancement.
Right.
If you don't, then continue forward and move on.
Yeah. The part of this this topic that I really wanted to touch on when I was thinking about it is why do we become disappointed in the expectations that we have set?
Okay.
Why do we why do we have disappointment when we have set the expectation so we can change that expectation?
Well, because like I said, if you have an expectation that it looks like A through Z and you only get A through B, and you're expecting to have A through Z, then that puts you in a place of lack and you didn't get everything. So you must have done something wrong. So you're disappointed that it didn't come the way you envisioned it or planned for it to happen, which then limits you to be able to get XYZ or see that ABC was exactly what you needed at the time, and that what came out of that was dumping a whole bunch of shit sandwiches, thus lightening your load.
No, I agree.
And that's how that happens.
You know, and I think a lot of people don't associate the different aspects of their life to this expectation and intention thing. You know, I think it marries into a whole lot of lifelong topics. It marries into finances. It marries into work. It marries into relationships. It marries into all these things. But I think the major number one thing that people miss the boat on is the finance stuff.
I mean, yeah, that is a big topic, the topic of abundance.
Yeah.
And financial, by all
financial
means.
abundance. Yeah.
But it definitely, it's a mechanism that is kind of a universal concept. And so, yeah, it plays into all slices of the life pie.
Right.
Every single one of them.
You know, because here's the thing.
Here's what I want to touch on.
Okay.
I want to use your specific comment as a real live example rather than talking in code.
Okay.
I feel like. So whenever you started the conversation, you were saying that you waited for other people to resolve the issue and it never happened. So you said, fine, I'm going to just do it myself. And so why did I wait so long? But then you made a comment that said, I always like to leave things better than I found them.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than saying, I want things left better than found, whether it comes through me or other people.
Good point.
So your belief of leaving things better than you found them has a very, very definite energy about it that you are the one that's going to make them better than you found them. not
Yes.
somebody else.
That's a good point.
And so therefore, if you're sitting around waiting for someone or some group of ones to fix the topic,
Or do
they
the topic.
didn't
Yeah.
agree to leave things better than they found them. You did.
Agreed.
And so therefore, you'll wait until you're fed up or disappointed or some sort of energy that motivates you or lights that inspirational fire under your butt, which is usually frustration or usually some level of frustration or anger that says, well, bleep it. I'll just go do it my darn self.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a really common thing that happens in the collective.
Agreed.
But and so that's why I wanted to talk about that, just to give an example. If you've got a belief in there that nothing gets done unless I do it right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nothing gets done right unless I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Or I like to leave things better than I found them. Then you're excluding that thing from being done exactly the way that you think that you want it done by somebody else, just
Mhm.
because of those two beliefs.
Agreed.
And that'll be entangled in every single thing that you try to go out and experience. You'll perceive it through that set of glasses every single time. And it will cause things like waiting longer than what you think you should have waited until you get to that aggravated state of being that causes you to get up and make that belief true.
Right.
So the only thing you're waiting on is not the other people. You're waiting on yourself to take action along the lines of your own belief that's in place. So again, that takes us full circle back to you're creating your own reality based on your beliefs, patterns, programs, habits, etc.
You're right. That was a mouthful.
Carrot sandwiches for everyone.
And so going back onto the finances now.
Okay.
On the finance stuff is the generation prior to our generation was taught you put your money in the bank, you save your money. You work 40 years at the same job and you get a pension, and then your money grows in the bank. And you'll by the time you retire, you'll have enough money to live on. And people still to this day, I think, set intentions and they put their money in the bank and expect it to grow just like that. And they set these expectations on this money that is limiting. And in the finances part of setting expectations, when we create those beliefs around money and forget that money is energy, then we set expectations and we sit back on our butt and we do nothing with it.
You do nothing with what?
With the money. You do nothing with your money. And it becomes stagnant. And stagnant money doesn't grow. It doesn't go anywhere. Money is an energy. It comes and goes. You know, if you think about it, everybody every day is using money. And if you are not using your money, then it's not going to grow because money is energy. It comes and goes. The more energy you put out, the more money you get back. The more energy you get back. And so it is just like everything in our life, an energy.
Right. But that can trip you up as well,
Mm-hmm.
because unless you are absolutely not utilizing any form of money at all in your life, and I can't even think of a scenario where you do that, because even homeless people will trade and exchange, then you are money doesn't go stagnant, because you're always paying for something, money out, and you're always getting money back.
Well,
there is a even if it's a slight trickle. Of flow.
Right. Well, let me clarify then what I meant. You're right. Everybody has bills, but what my thought process is on it, and this maybe we'll do a complete podcast on just money one day, but because this one is about us setting expectations back on our laurels. But when we set expectations or we accept money and we get caught in that monotonous, okay, I have a car payment, a house payment, electric bill, water bill, gas bill, and food, and one credit card. And so now I have 7 bills, and those 7 bills I pay out every month, I make money, and I put the rest of my money in savings or whatever I do with it, or it just sits there. Because there are lots of people that money just sits there and they do nothing with it. So it's just the same repetitive results every single month.
And what's wrong with that?
That is not boosting energy. It's the same energy.
Okay.
And when you do abundance,
I disagree.
Okay, then
that's what that moan thing means.
Well, that's okay. We're allowed to disagree.
That's me agreeing to disagree with my co-host.
Okay. Well, in my thought process, so when we go to, we have 7 bills, we're paying out $2,000 a month, and we're making $6,000 a month. We're just continuously doing the same thing with our money and not doing anything else with it. Then we are being stagnant.
But it still is energy flow.
Right.
And looking at those as, I'm grateful that I have this means of flowing that money energy, is a little bit different vibration than, okay, I have all these bills and my money is only going to bills and I'm not doing anything else with it, blah, blah, blah. That's a much different frequency.
I agree.
A lower frequency. I'm not putting it in savings. I'm not investing it. I'm not doing all these things that they says that I should do with it. It is still an exchange process that is exchanging one energy for another energy. And that is a form of money flow. But
what I'm trying to say is when you have...
What I'm trying to say is...
We're getting to the... Are you much over here? We have 7, say if we have 7 bills, we have 7 levels. And when we continuously just manage these 7 levels, which we're being appreciative of, that we are paying our bills, we're putting money in our savings account, and it's growing 0.00% of nothing. And it's growing, and
you realize that statement right there is limiting.
I agree. I'm just making an example of how people are thinking. I'm not saying I think that way, but because I actually had this conversation the other day. And so when you're at this level and you just continuously stay at this level, you get a raise at work and you're still at this level. You pay off your credit cards and now you're down here, and it's cruising along. It's doing nothing more. You're staying there. I'm not saying the energy is not flowing, but you're not pushing the energy to grow.
Okay.
I know the topic is and maybe I'm just not explaining it well, but anyway, it's off the topic of this week. So
nope, it's right on topic, and it's exactly what we're supposed to be conversating about.
Okay.
But you're gonna have to go deeper with that, because there's a lot of it's creating some confusion out in the energy. What are you wanting people to do with that money? And what do you mean by all of that?
Use it.
Because you're leaving people out there kind of on the edge, and they're not understanding what it is that you're really saying about it. What am I supposed to do with it then? I'm supposed to put it in the savings? Am I not? Am I supposed to spend it? Am I not? Like it's creating confusion.
So what I would challenge everybody to do to understand more of what I'm trying to say is, if you put $500 a month into savings account, take $50 of that money and go spend it on you. Don't put it in savings. Put $450 in savings. Take $50 of that money and go buy something you wouldn't normally buy.
And why is that?
And I want you to do that every single month for 6 months.
Why?
Because it's going to return twice as much. You're going to get a raise at work. You may get a random bonus. You may find money. Whatever that is. Just take that $50 and go spend it every month on you. It's on something that makes you feel happy.
Why is that going to give you return?
Because it's energy out, and we get back what we put. We get back what we put out. And when you trust in spirit to do those things with money, and you go spend this money on you on something that makes you feel good, it's going to come back 2-fold, 3-fold, sometimes 4-fold. And it's going to come in ways, and you have to be open and receptive. It's going to come in ways that you're at least expected. Promise you it'll do it. Now, I'm not saying to go out and blow all your savings. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying just to watch the result. If you are in that same place level, and you put $500 a month in savings, put $450 a month in savings, take $50 or even $100, whatever that is. Take $100 and just go do something that you wouldn't normally do. Go buy something you wouldn't normally buy. Go do something that makes you feel good on the inside. And
really. So if I follow what you're saying to do, and it ends up making me feel awful, and it strums up guilt, and
Why would it do that?
And it strums up because there are people that have belief systems in place that don't allow them to function in that manner, and so that's going to allow people to experience some of those hidden beliefs, patterns, and programs that are going to come up.
Right.
If they are holding on to that. There may be guilt, there may be shame. They may not even get to a place where they can let go of that $50 because they can't put themselves ahead of the rest of the family. Like there's a lot of beliefs out there that could potentially not allow someone to experience what you're proclaiming will happen until they whittle through some of the definitions and beliefs. And some of them will have to deal with beliefs before they can even get to a point to take that $50 and actually go spend it.
Okay. That is what it is. And that's okay. Because what I'm saying is if you are in a place that you can do that and try it, then do it. And if it brings up beliefs that cause irritation, I'm not saying anything that's going to break the bank or cause anybody to have financial bankruptcy. Because if you can't afford the $50, then obviously don't do that. But if you are putting $500 a month in savings, which is obviously $500 of money that you really just going to put back, then take $50 of that and go do something that builds that internal energy. If you can get to that point. If you can't get to that point, then that's okay. But it's going to, just the thought process of it is going to bring up things in your reality that will make you stop and look at it, which is hindering flow of abundance.
Right, of course.
And so either way, that's what I'm trying to push people to
look
do.
At it and it resonates with you, then of course do that.
Have you ever heard of a woman going to get her nails done?
I would be curious to know why you have such the commentary that you have about putting money in the savings. Like you keep saying all these negative comments about putting money in savings and how it's a waste of time and it's 0.00%. I would challenge you to look at that and why putting money in the savings is such a waste of time, because you got to honor all components.
I agree.
And they've all got to have validity.
I agree.
Okay. Just checking.
I'm just putting a challenge out there to the listeners.
Okay. You can, yeah, whatever.
If they want to. I know you don't agree with it, and that's okay. That's why we're co-hosts.
I don't disagree at all. If you're ready to put yourself in that place of practicing and playing with it, then I encourage anybody to move forward with it 100%. Yeah. But I don't think that you should invalidate putting money in a savings, because that's just as valid of a learning technique and the flow of energy as any other form.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not saying that savings accounts are bad. I'm just saying that if you're going to put money back, there are better ways of making more out of your money. And go talk to a financial advisor about it. And that's my I'm not a financial advisor. I just, in my opinion, you're right. There are better ways for your money to grow.
Okay, so here is my perspective about it. Abundance as a word. And we're talking about abundance of receiving things of value.
Okay.
If you have a limiting definition that this type of abundance is invalid and you're not letting that in, then you are in a way, you're limiting yourself from being able to experience and accept all forms of abundance because they don't look a certain way. You have to allow all forms of abundance in order to experience the mass definition of abundance. And so if you are negative about a savings account because from your perspective of your lens that you're looking through, it is an invalid way to get the money energy flowing, even though it still is making money, pennies on the dollar, whatever you said, it is still a way of your money making you money. And that has to be just as valid of a way of letting money in as going to your job that pays you $1,000 an hour. Like big and small have to all have a level of value and acceptance. You can't deny one and expect another and not fully embrace the whole concept of abundance, even down to non-money. Abundance includes what you're always abundant. It's what are you abundant in? Are you abundant in negative perspectives, positive perspectives? Are you abundant in money? Are you like there's abundance, you're never not abundant. But if you're going to experience the money concept of abundance, you've got to give all types value.
I agree.
Whether it be that you're trading eggs for milk with the neighbor, or you're trading your expertise and knowledge for a paycheck, or you're putting your money in a savings account and getting 0.01% back, that money is still making money for you. They all have value.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I mean, I didn't tell them to quit putting money in savings. I said, take part of that money, a small percentage of it, and just try doing this. $50, if you, whatever they can get to, go out and spend something that they wouldn't do, and watch. And because a lot of people put that money in savings out of fear of spending it. It's not about the savings account. It's about the emotionally attached behind it.
Okay, then talk about that. And
so when you get to a point to where you put money in savings because you're scared of a rainy day, or you're scared that you're going to lose your job, you're scared, if you're putting money in savings for the wrong reason, then it is a negative, it creates negative beliefs, and you will build on it because you're putting money in savings for what? If you put money in savings to save for something, that's one thing. If you're going to buy a home, you're going to buy a car, you want to go on a trip, whatever that is, then that's a purposeful savings. But when you're just putting money in savings that is fearful because you don't want to spend it, then you're limiting the return of that money because it's a fear. And so that's what I'm trying to get people to understand is if you are doing it for that reason, or if you're putting money in savings of $500 a month repetitively every time I'm not saying savings accounts are bad.
Okay.
I'm just saying to take part of that money and go spend it on something that makes you feel good. And just do it for 2 or 3 months and watch it come back because it always does. Always does. It'll come back in one form or another. Okay. And so I'm not saying that savings accounts are bad. And I totally agree with the being open to any and all forms of growth and wealth in finances and abundance. I totally agree with that. You should have many forms going on. You should have many things going on. I agree because it creates balance. It creates balance in growth. But what I'm saying is when you just put money back because society has taught you that you're supposed to have 9 months of your bills in savings account, that's a societal top belief that you need to do that. I'm not saying you shouldn't have savings account. I'm not saying you shouldn't have money put back. I'm just saying that if you do this out of a fear, then you are creating a spot in your own bubble that limits because of the fear. And so if we can get people to understand that if you limit those through those kind of means and you take that $50 and you go spend it on yourself and make yourself feel good, make it be good, that money will come back. The higher self has never failed me doing it.
Okay.
And so maybe I didn't present it in the right way. I was just trying to present a challenge in a kind of a vague way to where people will quit sitting on their laurels with every part of it. Sitting on their money, sitting on their stuff, sitting on their beliefs, sitting on their negativity, on their fears, on their stuff this life is your life that you're here for experiences for. When you're set back and wait to look at those things that create controversy inside of you or laziness, as they call it in society. Okay. That you believe you're being lazy. Like, Why is it bad for somebody to sit in the bed all day and watch TV? Because society taught us it's bad. Why is it bad for us to go down and buy a new car once a year? Because society has taught it this bad. And that's what I'm trying to say is until you figure out what in it that you are doing it for and create those beliefs, then we're sitting on our laurels. You have to stop and say, why am I, if you can't sit peacefully in your own energy, you need to look at that. Don't sit on your laurels. If you set an expectation for something that don't happen, figure out why. Figure it out. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
Thoughts?
It's a lot of confusion.
Okay.
There's a lot of confusional energy out there, and I'm just trying to figure out what to do about it, if anything.
Well, I don't know.
Me neither.
Okay. Well, so do you want to close it up? What is it?
I don't ever want to close a podcast leaving confusing energy out there. I want to leave the podcast feeling better about it. And I get what you're saying of making sure that if you're going to put money in the savings, for example, and that's the example you used, doing it from a place of an energy frequency that's not out of fear of that if you don't do that, something bad is going to happen. I get that concept.
Because all you're doing is storing bad.
But what I don't understand is if you're in a place of doing it out of fear, how are you going to get to a place of being able to allow yourself to go spend $50 on yourself on something that you don't identify as a need if you're already putting money in that account from a fear-based template?
Well,
and if you've got beliefs in place, I don't think that you can necessarily guarantee anyone that they'll have the same experience that you're having or have had by going and doing that. I don't know. Something just feels off, and that's what I'm trying to put my finger on. So, and I may not accomplish that through this particular podcast.
Yeah, maybe we just touch on it better in our finance podcast.
It may be something that comes up later because I'm not necessarily clear on what direction to take any of you at this point. Like my pony has stopped to eat the grass.
And that's okay. That happens sometimes. Maybe it's just time to be.
Maybe it's just time to be.
Well, I mean, I think that everybody should stay tuned. We'll put a podcast out there. Yeah, sometimes Dr. Jenny and I don't agree on everything. I know that's hard to believe.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's okay. And that is okay. Especially one of our touchy kind of subject has always been kind of finances because we have a lot of different views on it.
Yeah, we have a couple.
Yeah, I'd say a couple. We used to have a lot more, I think. We really talked through a lot of them. Big contender? Really? You labeled it as big? Really? Okay. All right. Anyway, then that's okay. We're allowed to.
I'm just being accountable for my side of things.
Anyway,
it's all good.
So I have nothing else to say. Do you?
No, I for whatever reason, I'm just not getting anything on this one for now.
Okay.
So,
well, thank you all for listening.
I'll have to check in, and maybe there'll be a part 2 or whatever. And so this is a perfect example of not having an expectation that it must look a certain way, being okay with it being exactly what it is, where it's at, and moving on and trusting in the higher self to bring additional information if that's what's in alignment with the highest and best for all that are involved.
I agree.
And moving on.
I agree. I think it definitely created food for thought.
Yeah.
So that's really what it's about for us.
Whether that food tastes good or not, I'm not sure.
Well, I guess we'll find out. Hey, appreciate you all listening. Like, follow, share. And don't forget to leave us a comment or two. Look us up on our social media at the Merc Centers. That's TheMercCenters. And that's also our website. Just add the .org to the end of it. And don't forget, you can go on our website and, schedule appointments. We'll get messages for it. Any comment you leave, you can leave it there. Share this with your friends. What do you got?
Ring the bell.
Hey, y'all have an awesome day. Dr. Jenny's over here in thought still. Y'all have an awesome day. Thank you for listening.
Listen, we may have to come back in here in a little while and do another podcast if I get a download or something.
I really stirred up the mess today. Love y'all.
Love ya.
Awesome day.